All right, welcome back to the Pursuit of Property podcast. We've got season 3 starting today. Cade, how do you feel about it?
Man, it has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I know we've both been counting down the days, eager to get this thing started.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a few intermission episodes here and there while we were dealing with the drama of trying to find somewhere to record and all the stuff that was going on since the end of season 2. But man, am I glad to be here.
We did it.
Let's go. Heck yeah.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see we've got our season 3 logo and everything up on the screen, and you can see that we're in a new setup. We did do, like you said, a couple filler episodes, and we filmed in this new set. So we're pretty pumped about it.
Yeah.
We really want to take some time today to tell everybody about what season 3 is about. So we'll go right into it. We are going to be talking about out-of-state investing. You want to kind of talk about what we're talking about?
Yeah. So I'll rewind a little bit as to, why we chose this as what we wanted to focus on. I think it was a combination of a lot of things. At the end of season 2, we asked people for a lot of feedback, and a lot of the questions we were getting, a lot of the feedback we were getting, not just from the podcast, but from people in the office who kind of knew what we were doing investment-wise. Out-of-state investing was hands down the biggest thing that we got questions on.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's because there's less people doing it.
Yeah. From when we first even thought about it and started doing some research on it, we knew probably, a handful, less than 5 people that we actually
3 or 4
knew.
people.
Yeah. So something that we thought was relatively new when other people thought was relatively new when they heard that we were doing it. So I think once we took that feedback and we were saying, hey, what are we doing for season 3? Answer kind of appeared to us right there.
Yeah. And the cool thing is also that we've been sharing a lot of it. We started getting people on the podcast talking about our rentals on season 2. And so there was definitely the draw to start talking about it. And you and I wanted to wait until we were closer to the finish line on our first bundle so that we can give our honest feedback. And I'm going to come out up front and say we are in the process of our last step of our first set of rentals out of state. And so during this next few weeks, during the podcast season 3, we're going to find out good or bad news, and you're going to see it live. So that will be something cool to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go into a little bit more detail of what you were saying, what Scott means by the last part of our first set of rentals is our initial strategy for what we were doing out there and what we're moving forward with is something called the BRRRR strategy, which some people listening may be familiar with, some
Let's assume not.
Okay, take us through it.
Okay.
What do we mean?
All right, so BRRRR is an acronym, became famous, I think, through Bigger Pockets podcast, and BRRRR is just buy, update, rent, or buy, update, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And so it's a way of buying rental properties and having as little money in as possible. So you want to tell them kind of like our credibility a little bit about how we've started out there?
Yeah. So when we first sat down and wanted to decide what we were doing investment-wise, because we're both active agents, we did have some experience in the investment side, you more so than I did when we first sat down and wanted to do it.
Neither of us were super big investors.
Yeah. So obviously learning a lot and seeing the success of one of our mentors, Jason Pritchard, take off in the investment side, we saw more potential to not only grow our income, but grow our business, grow ourselves, our knowledge in the investment side a lot, as opposed to maybe the agent side when we're talking about it. And so we sat down, came up with a game plan, and we said, okay, look, things in California, as a lot of listeners will know, are not really going well for the landlords. And so we decided, no, we're not going to buy in California. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with 49 other options to go in and look.
In the U.S., which was kind of where we started. But so we started buying property in South Bend. We'll go through how we picked that market over the next few episodes. We'll talk about key factors that led to that. But for right now, just keeping it super broad, we found South Bend, Indiana to be a city we wanted to be in. And we immediately started digging. We followed the same principles we had learned in Fresno. We applied them out there. And within, I think we started like July 18th, we closed on our first set of properties in September, end of September.
Yeah. So putting it in the grand scheme of things, I'm going from July to September, 2 months, start to finish. From going at our highest point, we owned 9 properties. Mm-hmm. We now currently own 8 properties out there in South Bend. But in a span of 2 months, if we want to do 2.5, in a span of 2.5 months, we went from 0 to 9 properties.
Yeah, and it was a jump.
Out in a market we had never been to, never visited. I had never been to Indiana itself, let alone South Bend.
I had never even been to that region of the country.
Yeah. And so I think we're both really excited to take people through how we did it, especially, in that kind of time frame when, a lot of people would be hesitant to do that in a span of 6 months, in a span of a year, and
couple years.
Yeah, in a span of a couple years, and being able to take people through our journey of learning, growing, falling down, picking ourselves back up, just a ton of learning experiences. Yeah. I think we've got a lot to share with people.
Yeah, we do. And I think the coolest part about season 3 is we're not going to share with you just the wins. We're going to share with you the losses that turned into wins. We're going to share the wins that turned into losses. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, and we're going to hopefully have as many guests on as possible who can share similar stories. So that way, our goal by the end of season 3, anybody who listened will be in a spot where they could make the jump too.
Yeah. And touching on that a little bit, like you were saying, we're in here to show all sides of and everything we've been through. We uploaded a little intermission episode in between season 2 and 3 where we talked about the deal that we lost money on out in South Bend. And what we're wanting to do, we want to put it all out on the table, rewinding a little bit back to the BRRRR strategy, what we were saying. We're in the final part. So what Scott was mentioning earlier was we're in that refinance part of our first 4-pack out there. And as we find out news, we're going to share it with everybody else, regardless of what Scott said. If it's great news, if it's disappointing news, they're going to get it, everything out in the open. So.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a great season. We're going to be putting out episodes, as it says on the screen, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Our goal here is to be putting out between 10 and 11 episodes between the next 10 or 11 weeks. That being said, we are going to be reliant on people's feedback. If we find that people aren't as interested, who knows? We might change a little bit of what we're talking about or maybe the format. Or if you're really loving it, we're going to see what we can do about maybe making stuff go live on YouTube or on stream and see what we can do to try to increase our interaction. Our goal is to bring as much value as possible and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I think we wanted to also put a really big amount of time and thought into what we wanted to talk about, obviously, for out-of-state investing. So we've got a pretty good outline of what we want to talk about. But like Scott was saying, we want feedback. If, something pops into your head when we say out-of-state investing that you want to know, tell us. I mean, just because we've got an outline doesn't mean we don't want to be fluid and flexible and obviously include things that you guys want to learn about. That's our biggest thing. So.
Absolutely. And from here out, we're looking like COVID's wrapping up pretty soon. I bet that we'll have a meetup coming up soon. We've done one before in COVID times, but maybe now that in-person is starting to become a thing again, we'll have to talk with a couple different local investors and see if we can pull together a nice event and go from there.
Awesome.
Well, all right. Well, wrap it up for us, Cade.
Yeah. Well, this is our season 3 introduction. Like we were saying, it's been a long time coming. Every Thursday, 11 a.m. Stay tuned. We'll be pushing out hopefully 10 to 11 episodes this season focused on out-of-state investing. So thank you guys. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.